Now, I was recently browsing Marketplace, and what came up was a GTX 1650. Now, it came up for $100. I DM'd the guy and I asked if he would do 80, and 80 Australian dollars it was. So I went to pick it up. It was really close to me in around Chatswood area. And yeah, I picked it up and it was this EVGA card. Now, I love EVGA cards. They just, something about them is just so nice. So the 1650 launched on April 23rd of 2019. So that's about 5 years ago now. So today I really wanted to see how well does it hold up in modern games. And considering that it only has 4 gigs of VRAM, 896 CUDA cores, I don't expect it to do that well, but I might surprise myself. I think it's also really important to highlight how good this card is, or how well used it is by the community. In Steam's hardware survey, apparently 4.38% of gamers are using this. Now that ranks it as number 2 on this hardware survey for graphics cards. So yeah, it's definitely getting a lot of use from the community. So today I'm going to be pitching it in a bunch of games and seeing how it overclocks as well. Kicking things off with Fortnite in performance mode, you can see that we're averaging around 204 FPS, which is really quite good. Now the CPU I'm using is Ryzen 5 7600, you probably wouldn't need a CPU this powerful to get the full potential of the 1650, but yeah, it's definitely capable of a really high refresh rate experience. What's also really good is that it's only hitting 57 degrees. And that was a bad death. Next up is GTA 5, which was released way back in September of 2013. Now yes, it's an older AAA title, but it's still very popular today and a lot of people are going to be playing it until GTA 6 releases. And as you can see, we're hitting around 110 FPS on average, which is really good by my perspective. Seeing as GTA is one of those games that you could probably live with 30 FPS, especially on a console like a PS4 or an Xbox One, it's definitely very playable and is a good experience. And GTA 5 still looks pretty good even by today's standards. Before we get any further into the video, be sure to subscribe because I'll be making a bunch more content like this and I'm trying to reach 2,000 subs by the end of the year. Back to the video. Next up is COD Warzone. At 1080p basic preset with FSR3 enabled, it looks pretty garbage. Now COD is a game that you kind of need to run at high graphical fidelity, otherwise you are at a disadvantage to your opponent, especially when you're doing long range battles. It really makes it hard to see where your opponent is if you're running at low or basic quality presets. Now it's playable, but would I recommend it? Probably not. You're hitting around 55 FPS at some points, and in my opinion, for a game like this, it really isn't working. Next up, in Control, which is a AAA title, we were achieving around 60 FPS with the low quality preset. Now, despite the name being low quality, I would say that this actually looks pretty good overall. Now yes, you do drop below 60 FPS sometimes, but for this game, it's fairly playable. Now my mouse sensitivity was a little bit too high, but I reckon with a lower mouse sensitivity, this would be very playable. And the game looks really good as well. Next up, I decided to do a slight overclock, so I overclocked the core by 100 MHz and the memory by 200 MHz. And back in Fortnite, we can see a small improvement actually. So before we averaged 202 FPS by the end of our game, and as you can see, we're sitting at around 214 FPS, which is about a 5% difference, which is quite tangible actually. And I think that, you know, it's not the best card, but if you can overclock it just that little bit more, you might be able to get just that little bit extra of lifespan out of your graphics card. Surprisingly, the 1650 is very comparable today and actually does really well in esports titles. So yeah, the 1650 is definitely still a very capable card in 2024, and you can definitely get by with it for esports titles and even some AAA titles. Now it's a bit nostalgic for me because the 1650 was my first card, and quite frankly I love EVGA cards and really wish they were still making GPUs. But that's going to do it for today. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like, subscribe, and as always, I'm TechBiz and I'm out.